Welcome back. This is kind of a, well, I wouldn't say it's underrated, but it's kind of, I mean, it's popular now. I mean, it's been out for a year. But I thought I'd just give my thoughts about the film, which I love it. And just the whole transition what DC's doing. Just be, I wouldn't necessarily be part of the community, but, you know, who knows? Actually, I do know. Maybe they kind of do things a little bit different than just recommending movies nobody really hears about. Zack Snyder's Justice League, starring Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, and well, J.K. Simon, and a few others. Story setting taking place right after BVS. Says Steppenwolf, sent by Darkseid, is trying to unleash Darkseid's army onto the Earth, and Batman and Gal Gadot join forces to recruit more superheroes to stop the Steppenwolf from unleashing Darkseid's army. I'm seeing both versions, and of course, Zack Snyder's version is superior. I love the darker aspect of it. I love the slow pacing that this film takes to slowly take its time to develop these other characters that are now being introduced into the movie. Aquaman and Cyborg and the Flash. And really, I think that's really where the length of the movie kind of just helps, extends, is you're basically introducing three new characters into a movie where you're trying to just, you know, conclude a bigger story. Even though this film is never going to be concluded, it is never going to be finished. It's never going to, damn, I hate it now where you build up something and now everything gets all canceled for it. Because the build up to this movie was insanely good. And so far, second to Watchmen, this is Zack Snyder's second best movie. And I believe if Zack Snyder, I mean, even though his track record of box office successes have not been great, I think just people are just avoidant of just darker superhero materials. He has brought up some pretty interesting ideas if he is given full control. And I see that he shines in that if he is given full control. Now, I do believe if he is given full control, his movies are going to be long as hell. And I love both Watchmen and his version of Justice League. And I think with Justice League, I think it's a near perfect movie because it allows aspects of the film, such as story, villains, character development, to really shine. The story really kind of gets into like literally, I think within the first hour, but it takes its time developing these other characters, and then the bigger part of how these other characters are interconnected. And I'm glad that the film exists just for that purpose. And they also have Martian Manhunter, and I actually love the reveal to his character. Which we're probably never going to get now. Yeah, we're never going to get it. I thought the action scenes for a full-fledged CGI movie was a lot better than BVS. It was much more engaging. And Zack Snyder's visual style of going for a more darker and serious aspect of the genre and doesn't forced humor works. It feels natural. You feel the film doesn't force itself to be something, and it organically allows the film to play out and to tell its story. Instead of just cramming a lot of ideas in there. I mean, it needed to be long in order to fulfill that, but I believe the film succeeded in all levels. The cinematography of this is awesome. And it's probably one of the most beautiful looking superhero films I've seen. And now it's actually one of my favorite superhero films of all time. I mean, yeah, everybody can breaches on it. Now, is the film long for a lot of other people who can't sit through to an almost 4 hour film? Yeah. It's long as hell. It's long as hell. Finally, we got to see Darkseid, and it's amazing. I can tell you, my niece saw that; she'd be scared out of her mind, and I'll feel bad to it too. A lot of wasted potential. Now, I think Ben Affleck nails it as Batman, but you can understand from the history of all this development that a lot of these characters weren't used to their full extent and didn't have a full direction. Didn't have a full direction. Now, I think this film probably would have been saved because Zack Snyder has a cult following fan base. He doesn't have, not a lot of his films haven't been like big box office money making success. Besides BVS, even though that was still considered a box office disappointment to bigger studios. And I'm not going to go full in detail with this because the movie's been out for a year. Everybody flocking to it, and everybody kind of knows, what transpired, why it's a mess, and now we're doing this whole do-over. Which I'm kind of on the support of the do-over. I'm just gonna have to wait and see what happens. You're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. I heard that it was almost fully restored. But I have to be honest, a lot of the movies surrounding that is not really connected to the Zack Snyder film haven't really been all that great. Have not really been all that great, to be honest with you. And the best film that's come out is Zack Snyder's Justice League. BVS has some issues. Man of Steel has some issues, even though I like that film a little bit better over time. I didn't really care much for Aquaman. I didn't like the lighter tone that some of these movies tried to do, even with Shazam. I didn't really care much for that. Actually, I didn't even finish Shazam. Birds of Prey was actually surprisingly good. I think it's underrated. The Suicide Squad, James Gunn, was probably one of the best. David Ayer's Suicide Squad, which now, knowing what happened, I want to see the full extended cut of it, which we probably never going to get. Other DCEU, Black Adam was all right. Yeah, honestly, there are just some things that the movie wasn't so good, but the action scenes were cool. I don't know. It felt like a formula that the film followed a certain formula. Maybe, I mean, that's just certain movies have to follow a certain format. I don't believe that. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League because it did its own thing. It didn't follow a freaking formula. It followed its own thing. And I think if a film follows a formula because it's a business move, because it works, well, I'm gonna tell you, sometimes if you don't do things different, the movie's not memorable. It becomes a little bit boring for me. They don't do things different. Do I think, a mistake is being made? Well, if I think Zack Snyder's films had a good track record, I think it would have. I think the Snyder first would have survived. Um, Now, by starting over from scratch, they could try to do things that feel a little bit more connected and makes more sense. Which I'm kind of on board with it because you know what? Just a lot of the movies just haven't been good. They just haven't. Um, I'm just being honest. A lot of the movies have not been good. Uh, I think the Batman's probably going to be safe. I think Joker, the sequel, is going to be safe. I mean, why cancel a film that won a studio an Oscar and made a lot of money? I'm sure the Batman's going to stay. I'm sure the Penguin show is going to still happen because those were big money makers. Now the other films haven't really been money makers. Well, Aquaman made $1 billion, and I think the first one of them. Now, I don't know, man. I'm just not big with the trends now. So I'm not going to cover a lot of mainstream news comics stuff. I know I didn't really go in detail with Zack Snyder's film because it's been out. There's so many other reviews about it. But I think it will be an underrated superhero film of its time and might be looked at as probably one of the greatest superhero films and risky superhero films ever made. I mean, how do you get out watching a 4-hour superhero film where all the arcs were perfectly established in this film? And it felt like a lot of the characters had a lot of good screen time. We're not gonna get this shit again ever. We're never gonna get this again, man. I can tell you, well, from what Zack Snyder has mentioned, a lot of the ideas that he originally had for his superhero franchise, he's gonna incorporate that in his Netflix movie Rebel Moon, which he's currently making. But yeah, I mean, we are never gonna get something like this again. Um, you know, um, that's just fact. Now the other 3 or 4 movies that are coming out don't mean shit. I don't even know about Blue Beetle, but I can tell you, once those movies come out and they obsolete, it's done. We're all thinking that, but hey, you know what? Hey, it is what it is. All right, just move on from it. Zack Snyder's Justice League and the whole DC news of DCEU cancellation. What do you guys think? Comment below, let me know what you thought, and let me know what is your favorite underrated film.